We continue reading from Sri Isopanishad. We are on the 12th mantra. Andam tamaha pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya sambhutyam rataha. Translation: those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. So in the 12th mantra, what is the Sri Isopanishad telling us? Sri Isopanishad is saying those who engage in the worship of demigods. Who are the demigods? The most popular few demigods that I remember are Lord Shiva, Durga Devi, Ganesha, Surya. These are a few ones that I remember. And then what happens to the worshippers of such demigods? They are entering into the darkest region of ignorance. Ignorance, tamaha, andam tamaha. Entering into pravishanti, andam tamaha. Getting more and more into ignorance. And still more do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. So more dark and more ignorant are those who are worshipping the Brahma Jyoti, the Brahman effulgence, the impersonal absolute, thinking that the absolute truth is just light or some energy. The Sanskrit word Asambhuti refers to those who have no independent existence. Sambhuti is the absolute personality of Godhead, who is absolutely independent of everything. So Asambhuti, no independent existence. And Sambhuti, completely, absolutely independent. So who is completely, absolutely independent? That's the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is our position? We have no independent existence. And because we think we have this independent existence, we are here right now in the material world. And if we do a little introspection, we can try to understand, oh, actually, I'm not independent. I am really controlled by the laws of material nature. I can't come and go as I please. I'm going to go right now back home. I can't. I am controlled by these laws. So how am I independent if I'm controlled? I don't want to get disease, but yet I get disease. So how am I independent? I don't want to get old. I really don't want to get old, but I'm getting old. Then how am I independent? It's only the Supreme Lord who is completely, absolutely independent. Swarat, that's Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna states, Na me vidu suraganaha prabhavam na maharashyaha aham adirhi devanam maharishinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the hosts of demigods, nor the great sages, nor my origin or opulences, for in every respect, I am the source of the demigods and sages. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that, you know, the demigods, there are 33 crore demigods. 33 crore devtas are there. And there are so many sages, so many great sages. But most of them, they don't even know Krishna. They don't know. They don't know that they are coming from Krishna, that Krishna is their origin. Although they are on such a high platform, like many demigods, they all go to Lord Brahma when they have a problem. They can't even approach Krishna. Whenever there's an issue in some universe, there's something wrong happening in the universe, all the demigods will go to Lord Brahma. Oh, Lord Brahma, please help us. Then Lord Brahma will take all the demigods to the ocean of milk to speak to Lord Vishnu. And not even all of them can hear Lord Vishnu or see him. Only those who are really, really qualified. So although they are endowed with great powers, these powers are limited, and thus it is very difficult for them to know how Krishna himself appears by his own internal potency in the form of a man. So Krishna came 5,000 years ago. We all know he came. He looked like a man. He had 2 hands and 2 legs and a chest and a waist, and he had eyes and nose and ears. He looks like a man. But his form is transcendental. It's not this material as our form is. Our body is material, made of these material elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Krishna's form is transcendental. He comes by his own internal potency. Internal potency. He is not at all affected by Maya, by external energy. Not at all affected. Many philosophers and great rishis or mystics try to distinguish the absolute from the relative by their tiny brain power. This can help them. This can only help them reach the negative conception of the absolute without realizing any positive trace of the absolute. So many philosophers and great rishis or mystics. Now, what like the great thinkers? Now, because they're using their mind, the mind is also limited. Mind is material. Our mind, although we give great credit to our mind, our thoughts, I'm thinking, I'm correct. But after all, we are limited. Our mind and imagination is still limited to the material. So what do we start saying? Neti, neti, neti. Not this, not this, not this. Everything negation. Negation. There is a certain class of people. So what is the truth? Oh, not this, not this, not this. Then what to do? What to do? How can we understand the absolute truth by just saying, oh, this is not this, oh, this is not eternal. No, this is not eternal. This is not eternal. Then who is the eternal? Who is the absolute? We have to find that out. Not saying, oh, this is not, this is not. Then who is? Such negative definitions lead one to create a concept of one's own. Thus one imagines that the absolute must be formless and without qualities. So because of this neti, what do the Mayavadi school, they say? That they come to the understanding that the absolute truth has no form, no qualities. Why? Because they're saying, oh, we have a form, our form is full of matter. So there cannot exist a spiritual form. Why? Because they're just depending on their own tiny brain power. They're not willing to hear from the authorities. If I go to school, if I don't go to school, I don't want, why should I listen to the teacher? I will just by myself. I will study by myself. I'll create my own language. How successful will I be? How will I be able to communicate, read, write? The shortest and the fastest way for me, go to school, learn from the teacher, and in no time I'll be speaking, reading, writing, communicating, becoming an expert. Yeah. So the same way, people think that the absolute is formless because they don't hear from the authority and without qualities. They think the absolute has no qualities. How come we have qualities, we have a form? Then how come the absolute cannot have it? That means we are greater than absolute. But are we? We are not God. You see, so there is fault in this logic. Such negative qualities are simply the reversals of relative material qualities and are therefore also relative. By conceiving of the absolute in this way, one can at the utmost reach the impersonal effulgence of God, known as Brahman, but one cannot make further progress to Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead. So people who don't want to hear from the authorities, they just want to make, and they become an authority and people follow them. We can see practically the whole world is impersonalist right now. Practically the whole world. They have become the authorities for the common people, but they never understood the truth from the true authorities. So, and then they themselves think the absolute is impersonal, and they're propagating this theory that the absolute truth is impersonal, only the Brahman effulgence, only the light. So, and then because of this, they cannot understand the complete nature of the absolute truth. They cannot understand that, oh, the absolute truth is a person. Oh, God is a person. They're not able to understand that. But why? Because they're just depending on their own mental speculation. So such mental speculators do not know that the absolute personality of Godhead is Krishna, that the impersonal Brahman is the glaring effulgence of his transcendental body, or that the Paramatma, the super soul, is his all-pervading plenary representation. So then what happens to this kind, the mental speculators? They're not able to understand the absolute truth as it is. They're not able to understand that the absolute truth is a person, Krishna, Supreme Person. And what's the light? The light is the effulgence coming from his body. And what's the Paramatma? Paramatma is the feature, the all-pervading feature of Krishna, the super soul, omnipresent as the super soul. So nor do they know that Krishna has this eternal form with its transcendental qualities of eternal bliss and knowledge. So what happens to the mental speculators? They don't know that Krishna has a very beautiful form, a transcendental form, which is eternal, never dies, never becomes old, always fresh and young. And oh, he has transcendental qualities. Krishna has amazing transcendental qualities. His form is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. The dependent demigods and great sages imperfectly consider him to be a powerful demigod, and they consider the Brahman effulgence to be the absolute truth. So there are some, the demigods, some of them, the lower ones, the highly exalted demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they understand perfectly Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's the Supreme Absolute Truth. If we hear their prayers, they know absolutely. But there's so many demigods, 33 crores of demigods. And they are the tiny, tiny demigods, and they don't understand who's their origin. And there's so many sages meditating. Even on the higher planets, we go beyond Swargalok, we go the planets Maharlok, Janalok, Tapalok. They are sages doing meditation, trying with their own personal endeavor, trying to understand the absolute truth, but they're not able to understand, oh, that God, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that he's not just an ordinary demigod or just some magician, just some king, some powerful demigod has some power. And who's the absolute truth? Oh, it's the light, Brahman. Brahman is the absolute truth. They think that, and that is imperfect. So, but the devotees of Krishna, by dint of their surrendering unto him and their unalloyed devotion, can know that he is the absolute person and that everything emanates from him. Such devotees continuously render loving service unto Krishna, the fountainhead of everything. So the devotees of Krishna, they understand the position of Krishna, that Krishna is not just a demigod, he's not just some devta or something. No, they understand Krishna's supreme position. They know that he is the absolute person, is the absolute personality of Godhead. They know that everything is coming from him. Everything, everyone, the material world, the spiritual world, everything, the demigods, Brahma, Shiva, Hanumanji, Ganeshi, Durga Devi, everyone is coming from Krishna. The devotees know that. And how do they know that? How do they know? Because they surrender. They surrender to Krishna. They hear from the devotees. They hear from the acharyas. They hear in the parampara, in the disciplic succession. And then what do these devotees do? They continuously render loving service unto Krishna, the fountainhead of everything. The devotees know who is the absolute truth. So they know it's Krishna. Then what do? They engage in loving service to him. They hear about him. They chant his glories. They're feeling happy. They're not confused in their mind to understand, oh, who's God, what's happening, who made the universe, what's happening, what's going to happen after I die. All the information is clearly, all the knowledge is clearly given to the devotees. Why? Because they're doing bhakti. When we do bhakti, automatically we get Gyan and Vairagya. So any questions or comments till now?
This is like one thing surprising, that even some demigods, they also don't know.
Yeah, some demigods also don't know, because it's not easy to know Krishna. That's the reason when Krishna was in Devaki's womb, all the great demigods, Brahma, Shiva, few of the great ones, they would come and see him. They wanted to come and see, because they don't have an opportunity to see Krishna. Yeah, and the demigods, they don't have access to Krishna. They just know Lord Brahma. So they go to Brahma, there's a problem. Oh, Hiranyakashipu is creating such a havoc. There's fire coming out. We can't breathe. What to do? Go to Brahmaji. Then Brahmaji will explain to them what's the problem. And if he can solve something, he'll solve it. Otherwise, he'll take them to Lord Vishnu. And they also can't see Lord Vishnu. No, they can't see. They do not have that qualification. So because the demigods are also having material bodies, right?
Yeah.
But of course, there are great demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. They are pure devotees of Krishna. So they understand the position of Krishna. So in the Bhagavad Gita 7:20 to 23, so chapter 7, in text 20 and 23, it is said that only unintelligent, bewildered persons, driven by a strong desire for sense gratification, worship the demigods for the temporary relief of temporary problems. Now in Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna. In the 7th chapter, in verse 20 and 23, what is he saying? He is saying that people who are worshipping demigods are unintelligent. He's saying only unintelligent people worship demigods. Only unintelligent persons worship the demigods. Why they are unintelligent? They have this strong material desire, strong lust, desire for sense gratification. How can I continue to enjoy in this material world? How can I continue to remain as comfortable as I can in this material world? And so they're called unintelligent because they don't understand that demigod worship, they're going to get some temporary relief of temporary problem. The problems of the living entities are also temporary. They come and go. What problem we are facing right now, it didn't exist before, and it's not going to exist in the future. It's only for some time. And we are looking for some temporary relief for that. Since the living being is materially entangled, he has to be relieved from material bondage entirely to attain permanent relief on the spiritual plane, where eternal bliss, life, and knowledge exist. And so what are our problems? Our problems are because we are in this body. We are the soul. We are the spiritual soul. We are Satchit Ananda. We are the soul. And now, right now, why we have so many miseries, so many problems, tensions, fear, anxiety? Why? Because we are inside this body. So a sign of intelligence is to, to make a solution that, oh, we do not take another material body again. Instead of trying to find temporary solutions to temporary problems. And we should try to again be reinstated, attain permanent relief on the spiritual platform, means reinstated in our original position, Satchidananda. So Sri Isopanishad therefore instructs that we should not seek temporary relief of our difficulties by worshipping the dependent demigods who can bestow only temporary benefit. Rather, we must worship the absolute personality of Godhead Krishna, who is all attractive and who can bestow upon us complete freedom from material bondage by taking us back home, back to Godhead. So Sri Isopanishad is saying, don't worship the demigods, because by worshipping the demigods, you might go up to the heavenly planets. You might go to the planet of the demigod where you can enjoy more. But that is just for a short time. After your punya karma finishes, your pious activities finishes, again you will come back to this earth. You might become a demon in the hellish planets, or you might become an animal or a tree. You're still in this material world, Isopanishad is telling us. So it is in our best interest, Isopanishad is saying, that worship the Supreme Lord. Worship Krishna. Why? Because he's the only one. He's the only one who can give us complete freedom from material bondage. Krishna is the only one who can give us liberation, moksha, mukti, whatever we call it. How? Because he's the only one who can take us back home, back to Godhead. No one else. Not even Lord Brahma, not Lord Shiva, not Durga Devi, not Ganesh Ji, not Hanumanji also. Hanumanji, he's a devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So if we are followers of Hanumanji, we should follow how devoted he is to Lord Ramachandra. How much he loves Lord Ramachandra. If we are really followers of of Hanumanji, we should become lovers of Lord Ramachandra. We should become servants of Lord Ramachandra. So what is Sri Isopanishad saying? Sri Isopanishad is saying, worship Krishna. Must. Sri Isopanishad is saying, one must worship Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, who's all attractive. And only Krishna can take us back home, back to Godhead. So the word choice, must, is saying, you see, otherwise Isopanishad is saying we are unintelligent. We are unintelligent if we are worshipping demigods. It doesn't mean we disrespect demigods. No, we need to respect everyone. Respect from Ant to Lord Brahma. Respect should be given to everyone. But worship is only for Krishna. Bhaja. The word bhaja is only for Krishna, no one else. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.23 that the worshippers of the demigods can go to the planets of the demigods. Krishna says that whoever you worship, you're going to go there. If you worship the demigods, you're going to go to the demigods' planets. If you're going to worship Surya Dev, you're going to go to the sun planet. If you're going to worship who else? Anyone, any demigod. Here is written, the moon worshippers can go to the moon, the sun worshippers to the sun, etc. Modern scientists are now venturing to the moon with the help of rockets. But this is not really a new attempt. With the advanced consciousness, human beings are naturally inclined to travel in outer space and to reach other planets, either by spaceships, mystic powers, or demigod worship. So now the scientists might think, oh, we are creating all these spaceships to go into different planets. But this has been going on since millions of years. The mystic yogis try to go to different planets. The worshippers of the different demigods, they go to different planets. So in the Vedic scriptures, it is said that one can reach the planets by any one of these three ways. But the most common way is by worshipping the demigod presiding over a particular planet. So how we can go to if we want to travel, we want to go visit the moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus. What is the way we can go? Is three ways. Either by spaceship, either by mystic power. The yogis, they have the mystic power. They can travel from one planet to another. Or by demigod worship. So if I want to go to the moon planet, I can worship Chandra Dev and I can reach there. I can reach there. That's the most common way the Vedas are saying. In this way, one can reach the moon planet, the sun planet, and even Brahmalok, the topmost planet in this universe. However, all planets in the material universe are temporary residences. The only permanent planets are the Vaikuntha Lokas. These are found in the spiritual sky where the personality of Godhead himself predominates. So even if we go to the sun planet, moon planet, even Brahmalok, which is the highest planet in this material universe, all these planets are temporary. There is birth, death, old age, disease there. These planets are going to be annihilated at one time. We are still going to keep changing in material bodies. They're still in the material world. There's still miseries there. Even if we become Lord Brahma, we still have to die. We still are going to become old. So where is the permanent place then? Where is the permanent place? The only permanent place is in the Vaikuntha planets. In the Vaikuntha planets. And where are they found? In the spiritual sky. And who's predominating deity of the Vaikuntha planets? Is Sri Krishna himself. So if we want to go to the Vaikuntha planets, which is permanent, no more birth, death, old age, disease, no more fear, anxiety, tension, depression, no more all these bodily sufferings. Then what do? We worship Krishna, and then we can go to the spiritual sky. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita 8.16, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 8 verse 16, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So Krishna is saying that in this material world, in this universe itself, we have the highest planet, which is the Brahmaloka, where Lord Brahma resides. And then there is the lowest planet, the Patala Loka, the hellish planet. And there are many in-between planets. We have the earthly planets, we have the Swargalok, all these different lokas are there. So, but what's happening? Any planet you go to in this material world, from the highest or to the lowest, Swargalok you go, Brahmalok you go, Janalok, Tapalok, Mahalok, these are higher planets. Or if you go down, Atal, Sutal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal, anywhere you go, what are you going to find? One thing you're going to find everywhere. Everywhere you're going to be miserable. All are places of misery. So wherever we go in this material world, we will have these miseries, no matter which planet we go. And what else are we going to find? We are going to find that we are going to be born and die and born and die. So that's of this material world. But Krishna says that, O son of Kunti, he's telling to Arjuna, that one who comes to my planet, who comes to the Vaikuntha world, to the spiritual world, never takes birth again. You were just hearing in Bhagavatam that one who goes to Vaikuntha never comes back to this material world again. That is true liberation. That is true moksha. That is the ultimate goal. That is what is mukti, to go to the Vaikuntha planet and never come back again. We are liberated of the miseries, liberated of the material body, material consciousness, material desires, material hankerings, and we are situated in our true original position as loving parts and parcels of Krishna. So, are there any questions or comments?
No.
No? Anything to add?
No.
No?
It's very beautifully explained by you.
So we'll stop here for today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining and thank you for listening in. Shri Isopanishad ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.